like to turn it over to the other co-founder of Do More Good and the founder and CEO of FireSpring, Jay Wilkinson.
How's it going, Graham? And welcome everyone to this amazing session. Holy moly, we put a lot of work into what you're about to see today. A lot of people coming from, as Graham said, around the world to help us put this conference on. And I'm going to jump right in and give it an overview this morning of the movement, the objectives. I want to share some information with you around what we're really focused on with Do More Good. And I want to start just by just acknowledging what Graham was just talking about. The work that went into just getting everyone here today has been pretty monumental. We do emanate out of the middle of everywhere, as we like to say, in Lincoln, Nebraska. We have more than 750 registrants today from all 50 states and 2 territories as well. And 70 plus countries. We're now close to 80 based on what we saw come through yesterday. And we also are live streaming the event today on social media. So throughout the day, we are expecting, especially for the frameworks panel that's going to come up at 10:30 Central this morning, which is in a couple hours from now. We're expecting to have several thousand people streaming that from all over the world. We're really, really stoked about what we're about to share with you. The speaker lineup is just incredible. You're going to meet all these folks over the next day and a half. Myself and Graham, of course, will be guiding the way. Jay, Cohen Gilbert, Rita, Ken, Brian, Kate, Tony Goins, Kelly, David, Prita, Alexander McCoben, Rand Stegan, Terry Maxwell, Lorna Davis. This is an incredible lineup, and these are all people that are going to be sharing the stage with Graham and I today. And then tomorrow, but by the way, today we're focused on how the Do More Good movement is affecting companies and businesses all over the world with a particular focus where we are located here in the United States. Tomorrow, we're going to do something really special. We're going to do a kind of a deep dive case study into a region, and it's the region that Graham and I are operating this movement from. We have several folks joining us from the region. Tony Goins again, and Kim Goins will be announcing a new initiative called Just Do Business, which is really exciting. I'm hoping you're able to attend that session for sure tomorrow. David Brown and Wendy Birdsall and Brian Sloan are going to be in a panel with Tony where we're going to understand at a deep level how Do More Good is affecting the region of Nebraska. Lynn Wyman and Allie and Tammy and Justin Nabity and Alec and great presenters, including one of the people that I consider one of my personal business mentors, Tom Henning. It's an incredible lineup. And as I go into the framework and give you more background and more specific detail behind what the Do More Good movement is all about, I want to pause before I jump into that and just do a huge shout out, thank you, and a deep expression of gratitude for our founding board of advisors. If Graham and I could have, like in our wildest dreams, put together a group of people that were going to be the perfect group of people to help guide this journey that we're on around Do More Good, it could not have come out any better than this. In this group of advisors, we have essentially representation from the biggest frameworks around putting purpose in business that have come out of the United States and then evolved throughout the entire globe over the last decade beyond. Prita Bansal, who was President Obama's general counsel and the senior policy advisor, was in the White House and instrumental in the process of making sure that benefit corporation legislation was passed in several states as that momentum started to gain steam. Benefit corporation legislation, you're going to learn more about that today, is different than a certified B Corp. Certified B Corp is a certification that you get through B Labs. The founder of that organization, B Labs, Jay Cohen Gilbert, is one of our advisors. And those two, benefit corporations and certified B Corps, kind of work together, but they're very different things. Rand Stegan, who is one of the co-founders of Conscious Capitalism and a dear friend. He also runs the Stegan Leadership Institute and helps build the most amazing, high-producing leaders of any organization or institute I've come across in my time on the earth here. Kate Williams is the CEO of 1% for the Planet, the first organization back in 2002 that really started to make waves in this impact space. And then Anthony Goins. Tony is the director of economic development for the state of Nebraska, and a dear friend. You're going to hear more from Tony today and tomorrow. But this is just an incredible group of folks, and Graham and I are honored and privileged to be able to work alongside of them in helping guide and steward the vision of what Do More Good is all about. So I'm going to encourage you today to consider your one thing as we're going through, as you're getting started. We're just ramping up here today. I'm going to encourage you to listen and learn with the intention to act, lean in, and ask questions. And I humbly encourage you to make a promise to yourself that you will commit to one thing, just one. That sounds simple enough, right? One thing that you're going to do different tomorrow, next week, next month, that maybe you weren't doing as you came into this conference. I think we owe it all to ourselves. The greatest gift that we can give as humans to others is the gift of our time, and spending our time together over the next several hours and tomorrow. We have taken a pledge to do everything within our power to deliver high value, and all we ask in return is that you will think about how you can change something in the way that you do business or the way that you're operating within your team, whatever it might be. And mark my words on this, a year from now, you're going to wish you would have started today, because there's so much change happening. So let's dig into this Do More Good thing. We are known as the Do More Good movement, and our website is at domoregood.com. And I wanted to start this section by talking about why Do More Good. Where did this whole thing come from? And I'm going to give some construct of a background on where this whole thing started. And for me, the point where we really started to realize that we had to do something with this was in 2017. And I started a project. FireSpring in 2016 had been listed in Inc. magazine as one of the 50 best places to work, the company that I founded and run today. We had been on the Inc. 5000 7 out of 8 years. We missed 2013 because we forgot to apply. But we were on this great run. We were growing and doing really crazy good things. And I was speaking at different conferences around the country, and people were asking, how did you do it? And then someone said to me, they stood up at a conference and asked the question, Jay, what is the future of workplace culture? Where is this whole culture thing going? Because that's what I was talking about on stages and in business groups at the time. And I'm sharing this with you not in any way to impress you about FireSpring, only to really make it clear. I thought at the time company culture and the focus on culture was everything, and it's what we needed to be focused on. So we started this research project. My wife and I, after I was pondering that question of what's next, what's the future of workplace culture, we decided to do a little research project. And this actually happened, true story, at Burning Man. My wife, that's my wife Tanya and myself at Burning Man several years ago. And I remember on the RV trip on the way home from there, I made the decision, I want to write a book on the future of workplace culture. Where is it all going? Let's see if we can talk to people that know what they're talking about, and let's learn from them. So we started this project back in January of 2018 with the intention of creating a construct and writing a book around the future of workplace culture. Interviewed more than 700 CEOs, leaders, managers, executives of purpose-driven companies. These are all companies that are certified B Corp. So they were featured in Inc. as one of the 50 best places to work or things like that. And we sprinkled in some survey instruments that we were able to get high-level employees. And so we had over 2,600 respondents. And as I'm gathering all the data and having all these conversations with thought leaders all over the world around how they're leading their companies towards social and environmental impact and how they're making a difference, I felt what best could be described as a monumental shift in how I was thinking about everything. I came to the conclusion that we are standing on the precipice of what I personally believe is the biggest shift in capitalism since the industrial age, and maybe including perhaps the computer age that followed that. It's amazing what's happening right now. Capitalism has been under assault for decades. We hear this, we see it in movies, in portrayal, in movies, in the media. Typically, more than 80% of the time, businesses are portrayed as cheating the public or cheating their employees or causing more harm than good, leaving people behind. And that is true. There are companies that do that. There is no question about it. But those sentiments about capitalism being evil, I believe that they could accurately describe cronyism or corporatism, the bad aspects of capitalism. But capitalism in its intended and purest form is about the free market. It's about letting the consumer choose what they buy, letting employees choose where they go to work. And when capitalism is done right, it is the answer. It's not the problem, but it has to be the kind of capitalism that is designed to do more good. We here in Nebraska, we call that Main Street capitalism. I personally believe that businesses that don't understand that they need to change will not be around in another 5 to 8 years. So many people that I know have found their moral compass through religion. They volunteer over the weekend through their nonprofit, their church, whatever. And basically their efforts are directed as part of their personal lives, right? And then there are the people like me in my 20s and early 30s. I was a hardcore business geek. And I was reading and learning about how to grow bigger, better, faster, maximize shareholder return, crush the competition. The business lessons that I received growing up, they weren't about a moral compass. We had our life outside of work. That's where the moral compass was applied. And then we had work life. And at the core of the Do More Good movement is that life and work do not have to be at odds with one another. We can do more good in all aspects of our life. It's a matter of choice. There's this underlying myth that you can't do well and do good. I do not believe in that. There's Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank. He's the one, he was featured on the cover of Inc. magazine with the headline, "Go ahead, be evil." Nothing is more important than profit. Going all the way back to the early days when Milton Friedman gave his famous quotations back about the only responsibility of business is to make money for the shareholders, essentially, is what he's saying. But a lot of times we leave out the fact that Milton Friedman also said, but it has to be done in a moral and ethical way within the boundary of the laws. But the challenge that I have is that we have to get everybody aligned on what it means to do more good. So I'm going to explain what the Do More Good movement is, and I'm going to start this segment by saying what it is not. Sometimes it's easier to understand what something is not. It's not about politics. It is absolutely not about religion. It's not about a marketing strategy, and it's not pretending to be something you're not. In the environmental space, we call it greenwashing, when a company claims to be environmentally competent and forward, and then spilling sewage out into the canal in the back without anyone knowing about. It's also not about a specific framework or methodology. So it's not about aligning with conscious capitalism or committing to 1% for the planet or becoming a certified B Corp or registering in your state as a benefit corporation. But it is about all of those things. We advocate for business leaders to follow whatever path will lead them to become the best version of themselves at whatever pace they're comfortable going, and at their own speed and in their own way. Do More Good is agnostic to any specific methodology. We're not beholden to any speaker, no one author, no single thought leader, but we do believe in elevating the tide around all of the important thought leaders in the space. So we are about conscious capitalism, 1% for the planet, becoming certified B Corp, et cetera, because that's how we measure our success. I'll get to that in a moment. Bottom line, the Do More Good movement is the belief that business should stand for something more than just money in the pockets of the shareholders. So the catalyst for beginning on this journey was this research project that my wife and I were doing around culture when we transitioned into the realization that it's way deeper than just culture. It goes way deeper than that. And then there was a second catalyst that I want to go in and share a little bit about. I've shared this story many times that when I was in high school, I got elected to serve on student council. And as penance, I was told I had to go to leadership class. And the leadership class ended up being a 4-night, 5-day workshop in a small college campus in Nebraska. So I begrudgingly went off to this camp. Like the last thing in the world that I wanted to do is go to a leadership camp and be lectured to about how to be a leader. But frankly, it changed my life. It completely changed the framing of everything that I thought about. It's where I learned what it meant to be a servant leader. And I went back to my school that next year, a changed human, and I thought different than I had thought before. I'm hanging on the wall in the room where my group, my cohort, or we call them co-ops, where my group hung out, was this sign. It said, "I expect to pass through this world but once. Any good, therefore, that I can do, or any kindness I can show, let me do it now. Let me not defer or neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again." I have this sign still hanging on my board above my office. I've had it my entire adult life, and I refer to it frequently. It became kind of like the theme. Well, fast forward from 1981, 27 years to the year 2008. And there is a young Graham Brooks in the front row in my group, my cohort, again called a co-op. We were paired together. He came into leadership workshop called Launch Leadership as a 9th grader, and he came up to about my belly button. He was a slow grower. Graham was, and I'll tell you, Graham and I instantly hit it off. And I knew the moment that I met Graham that he was different, that he was special, and he had an opportunity to do some amazing things with his life. Well, fast forward about 10 years after that, Graham had graduated from college. He was working at a really awesome job in Washington, D.C. If you know anything about Graham, you know that he operates at a really high level. He had his choice to do and go wherever he wanted to go and become whatever he wanted to become. But he called me up on the phone and he said, "Jay, I want to come back to Nebraska and help you launch this thing," because we'd been talking quite a bit over the previous several years. Help you launch this Do More Good movement. He was called to come and do this. So in May of 2019, we launched our inaugural conference. The conference happened in Lincoln, Nebraska, again, the middle of everywhere. And since then, we've been building. Now, of course, we're waylaid a bit by the pandemic, like every organization, every group is. But we are now all forces and all boats rowing in the same direction on our purpose, which is to educate, empower, and amplify companies and business leaders doing more good. And through this movement, we are serving business leaders, entrepreneurs, nonprofit professionals, educators, public servants, students, anybody who desires to do more good. And how do we know if we're succeeding at our mission, at our purpose? Well, we're going to know by measuring how many Do More Good companies there are in the United States. The way that we measure that is we add together the benefit corporations that are registered in any one of the 38 states where benefit corporations exist. Graham's going to give a little more detail on that later today. Certified B Corps, 1% for the planet companies, and conscious capitalism companies, the companies that are aligned with those frameworks and movements. That's how we measure how we're doing. So our responsibility as an organization is to elevate those organizations, to be the last mile, so to speak, to the feet on the street. And we're going to do that through a lot of things, which I'll come to here in a moment. But our intention is to get directly FaceTime with business leaders all around the world as we grow this movement. And specifically, our goal number one in the US is to start by getting 60,000 Do More Good companies by the end of 2023. When we launched our inaugural conference in May of 2019, we estimate there are around 8,000 Do More Good companies at that point in time. We want to get to 60,000 by 2023 and then blow this thing up all over the world so that every business on every continent and in every country is understands that they do have a path that they can follow, a path to purpose. And the truth is we're all on this path somewhere. There are organizations like Yvon Chouinard's Patagonia that have highly evolved on their path to purpose, right? They exist almost entirely based on their purpose. Ben and Jerry's ice cream was famous for that as well. So all of these organizations are on their path to purpose. All of us are on this path somewhere. It's just a matter of iterating and evolving to make sure we're moving down that path properly. So again, in 2002, when Yvon Chouinard and his peers started 1% for the Planet, that was kind of the beginning of the impact space. Certified B Corps came about in 2006, followed by benefit corporations, which kind of was an outgrowth of certified B Corps. And then conscious capitalism came along about that same time with John Mackey and Raj Sisodia and others that were leading that movement to get conscious capitalism defined around the triple bottom line. These are the organizations that we exist to support. And here's what we've learned. In all of these conversations with all of these thought leaders in the purpose space and all of these frameworks, we look at the purpose and then the process on the bottom part of this. And here's how we think about it. We think the purpose is the why and the process as to the how. And it starts with the people, the employees, the contractors, the vendors, all of the people that are part of the ecosystem of this particular business. Now, the people serve the company and the public good. And then within the public realm, we have the way that we impact our communities, this notion that the rising tide lifts all boats. And the public supports the company and then elevates the profit of that company. So wages and benefits, and the company is able to sustain itself and fuel philanthropy. So the profit empowers the people. And this is the cycle. And in the delta of the profit and people, that's where the culture exists in an organization. And the connection that we build into our communities, lies between the people and the public sector, and then the community itself. And in the middle of all of this is the cause. And that's what we've learned in our research, that the cause is really more important than the culture. But these are the pillars. Connection, community, culture, and cause create the 4 pillars of the Do More Good movement, because this is what we've learned from all of these different frameworks and from the interviews we pulled together, that there is this constant evolution. Now, purpose is aspirational and process is the action. So we have the aspiration and the action to take. What I'm going to encourage you to do is think about what are the pillars that apply to your organization as it relates to culture, connection, community, and cause. There's a lot of stuff that I'm going to share with you this afternoon where we're going to dig into that. But I'm going to wrap up this section this morning by sharing just high level some of the things that we're going to be focused on in the next year. We are working on the final aspects of curriculum right now to be able to deliver both in-person and virtual workshops to help educate business leaders on all of these different options that are available to them. There's a big menu of impact and purpose out in the world, and we're trying to bring sense to all of it. And there's a lot of different ways we're doing that. We have an ROI of Why podcast that will have weekly episodes that are releasing right after the conference. We've completed season 1. We're moving into season 2 here in the next few weeks. Weekly live streams where we're going to be interviewing thought leaders around all of this space. We are building what we refer to as the world's largest social enterprise library, where anyone free of charge can log into our website and access ideas, case studies, all of the different ways that people can pursue purpose and impact in their business. We have already launched Do More Good Publishing to help people have a voice that want to get their message out into the world, and then also to help sell and distribute more books that we believe help elevate businesses. We've created a directory of fellow travelers that's already available on domoregood.com of more than 50 different frameworks and other movements of fellow travelers that are doing this kind of work in the space. Our goal is to help elevate all of them, to be that tide that helps lift them all up. We have a partner program, which I'm going to announce this afternoon and share with you how you can get involved and be part of the Do More Good movement. So more on that this afternoon. And then, of course, our signature event, which is our annual conference. And we're also going to be announcing this afternoon the launch of our 2022 conference with the date, so you can get those out onto your calendar and be ready to join us for that.